Next, we've got Monica. Question about a sales page.
Hello.
Hey there.
So should I put the link into the chat? Is that the best way to do it? Or
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much. It's the question, what I'll tell you before you look at it is that it's both about, I don't know if it's about the text or about the program itself. It's called the Sanctuary Saloon. The idea is like the Nap Ministry, but play. That's like the very short version. And what I find really hard about marketing it or talking about it in a marketing way is that the whole point is that the play isn't something that is productive, right? Like I want people to play. And so that is a little bit challenging. I'm finding it hard to talk effectively about the benefits. And even with the participants that I have, because we're coming up on finishing the first round, is that they don't know how to talk about it either. And these are people who are like copywriters and marketers, and they don't know how to articulate the benefits that they're getting because it's such like a deep benefit.
Right. Okay. So this is a point of view thing.
Okay.
In part, the immediate thought that came up was I can imagine somebody saying, well, play is for kids, and you stop doing that. And when you're an adult, you get serious and you do some work. So you obviously disagree. And that's what I'd like to have, like, here are the top 5 reasons why play matters. And Amber, maybe if you could drop Anthony's link in the chat. There's a fellow in the membership, which I'll talk about after this, Anthony, and he does a lot of play stuff too. Okay, but so part of this is, there's the challenge of how do you articulate this in a way that it might strike some relevance and not seem superfluous, or is that sort of the question? Like, this just seems a little unneeded and like, nice, I'm glad you're doing that, but.
I think so. We hit when I ran it for the first round, we hit the goal that I wanted as far as my like good goal. It was the first thing I've offered online in 10 years. So like, I was happy with that. But I don't know that it's that people feel that it's superfluous, and people share it and talk about it like on social media and things like that. And in their newsletters, I've had it been shared. But I think that the value is what the hardest part is for people to see.
Okay. So, yeah, that's basically what I was saying. They're like, oh, this is great. I love it. It's good that it's out there. Are you going to sign up? No. It's wonderful what you're doing. Are you going to pay? No. So that's a problem.
Okay.
So here's the, and by the way, for everybody, here's a bunch of hot tips on copywriting, which require no skill. Hooray. First is go on Amazon, for example. I'll just do this right now. Oh, yeah, one second. Okay. I just write play. Now I'm going to search books. Where are the books? What? See, it doesn't even think it's important enough to put it in books. Unbelievable. It's all movies. Isn't that funny? Okay, so I might just say play book. Right. Okay, so there we go. Books on play. So now we've got a bunch of these. And what you do is you go here, and now this is gold. Publishers spend a lot of money on copywriters to get that dialed. So that's one thing you can do. It's just the Amazon thing, and you go through all the descriptions of all these books, especially the best-selling ones, because you know they're getting a response. People are spending money on this book, and you I would just cut and paste from all of them and go through. There's a reason it's called copywriting, by the way. But you go through, you copy it, and then you figure out which ones jump out for you, and then you massage it into your own words.
Yeah.
You could also consider there are TED Talks on the topic, and those TED Talks also, if I were to look up TED Talks play, not playlist, but just play, and you would probably find, right, play is more than just fun. We go here and you see there's a bit of a write-up. And now there's a few things. One is you could watch the video and pull out some nuggets like, oh, these are some key points that I need to make around this. But also you could go to the author or the speaker's website and look at what's on their homepage. So for example, Stuart Brown. Who's Stuart Brown? So we go Stuart Brown, play. And there we go. It looks like it's probably him, play core, right?
Huh. Yeah.
And so, okay, I don't want to go to the bio, I want to go to the homepage. And we see that there's some text. So it's, if you're really ever feeling stuck with copy, look to other people's copy who are already getting results with their copy. Find, if you're helping people with burnout, I would look at a lot of other copy around burnout and see what lands for you, see what makes the most sense for you, that really resonates with your own point of view. And then, so that's sort of just general getting some content, throwing stuff in the box to sort out later.
Yeah.
Okay. But then there are 3 cases that we need to make. I'm going to be going into this in depth in a webinar next week, and then also in a day-long lab on the 18th. So here are the cases that we need to make. 3 of them. First one is our diagnosis. The second one is our prognosis. The third one is the prescription. So the diagnosis is, now this assumes they're coming with a symptom of some sort. Yeah, so what would you say is the major symptom that they're coming with? What's the major thing that's bringing them in the door?
They're exhausted and they feel dead, but they're alive.
Right. Okay. So right, they're just exhausted. They feel kind of dead inside. That's the symptom. So then you have the diagnosis that there's a connection between that feeling of exhaustion and deadness with a lack of play. Right. So that's at a very surface level, that's answers the question, what's happening? That's the question at the diagnostic level. Why do I feel this way? Why am I struggling with this? Why can't I get this result? Because of this. Boom. Why am I struggling with my business? Because you got no niche. You're trying to be everything to everybody. So now you want to make a case for that diagnosis then. I mean, that's the initial, here's the thesis, but now you got to defend it. Here's why I think that's true. Like, I know this will sound too simple. Oh, I don't have play in my life. Easy for you to say, and it sounds too easy, but let me actually make the case as to why, and all the benefits of play and the lack of it, etc., in our life, and how this shows up. And here's what the studies say. So just at the end of making that case, you want them sitting there like saying, fucking hell, I think she's right. That makes sense to me. Wow, that is the missing thing for me. At least for the people who that's true for. Then there's the prognosis, and the prognosis is basically, if you don't handle this, here's what happens. If you handle it, here's what happens. Yeah, it's like the exhaustion isn't going to go away without play, or this feeling of dead inside. Like, we need to bring more of that spontaneity and fun in our life, and if we don't, this is what happens. And so the prognosis is, I think that's probably the smallest case to make. It's the smallest part in a way, but maybe it's bigger for you because they're not seeing the value. It's just, we're trying to, with the goal of the diagnosis is to be accurate, but the goal of the prognosis is to be just realistic. And that realistic goes both ways. It could be like, look, this part isn't that big a deal, but this one is a very big deal. And the consequences of not tending to this piece are immense. So the diagnosis answers the question, what's happening? Prognosis answers the question, what's coming? Where is this headed? Untended to. And those are knowable things, frankly. we've all maybe had friends who struggle with addiction. It's a knowable thing where that heads. That's not, I mean, there's a kind of scope, there's a range of possibilities. But the further they go down that buoy, the narrower that range gets and the clearer where the terminus is on that. If people struggle with stress and they just don't, this is knowable where it ends up. So there's that. And the third case we make is the prescription. And that's the case where we're answering the question, what's needed? Yeah, because, and this is going to be maybe key for you, is because well, I'm not going to go to the fucking playground and play, So then what? What are you suggesting? It's like, no, my prescription is different. Here's the prescription specifically. Yeah, and the prescription has two levels to it. One is the information, the second is the integration. The information is saying, here's what you need. And then, but the other thing they need is support in integrating it. And so for most of you, it will sound something like this. Look, if this point of view all makes sense, if you agree with the diagnosis, the prognosis, the prescription so far, there's a few things you're probably going to need. One is just some professional help. Whether it's me or somebody else, you probably need somebody to hold your hand to do this, to actually make it happen. Two, you may need a community to share the journey with. Third, you may need some additional resources or supports or accountability or courses or structure, but you're making the case for what you think is needed. That is obviously embodied in your course, but what you're saying to them is, whether or not you work with me, these are like, this is why I designed it this way, but there's other people who do this and maybe they do it close enough, it'd be a good fit for you. I'm just saying, for you to handle it, these are the things. So that's the heavy lifting, in terms of, because there's three filters, right? Relevance, credibility, and value. So the relevance is at some level the easiest to establish. Just like, hey, are you burned out and you feel all dead inside? Okay, well, now they're paying attention. They're saying, yes, I do. So relevance is at some level achieved. Credibility is most of it then. Right. And it's like, do I trust your diagnosis, your prognosis you're giving, and the prescription? Because if they don't trust those, the value doesn't count. And people try to skip the credibility phase. Yeah, they skip the whole point of view thing. And it's like, well, are you struggling with this? Well, then here's the solution. And that's the back cover of the book, the front cover of the book, but it's not the book. The credibility is the book. So my guess is there's more of that needed. Another way to look at the prognosis question too is like, why take this seriously? I mean, really, who gives a shit? Why even pay attention to this? Well, here's why. Boom, 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 boom. And you're making the case. And again, we're not trying to make the case that they hire us or buy from us. We're just saying, look, I mean, there's a reason I picked play as the thing for this issue. This wasn't out of a hat, and here's why I picked it. Here's why I think this matters so much. This is why I think this is such a key leverage point, because of this. Yeah.
That's super helpful. I do copywriting also, and I hate the pain point stuff. So I think flipping it to think about it in terms of diagnosis, prognosis, and prescription is just very, very helpful. Thank you.
The pain point is fine as long as but it's brief. It's not that big a deal. We're just acknowledging, does it hurt like this? Got it. Okay. Because if you go to a doctor, I mean, yes, you want empathy, but you don't need the doctor to be like, wow, yeah, you want to share how you're feeling about that?
Yeah, no.
Oh, no, but hold on, let's slow down. Just take a breath with me. Like, we want the empathy as in we see in their eyes that they get it, how hard this is for us. But part of the way we demonstrate empathy is, let's just cut to the chase, okay? I see you're scared. Let's get to it. But they do it with some bedside manner and some courtesy. But that's the relief when a doctor is taking the time to diagnose properly. and to say, let's just see, and then takes the time to explain, like, look, okay, based on the test, here's what we see. The prognosis generally is this, but here's what I think is needed. Here's what I think is possible. Here's what I think the limitations on our situation are. You know, but they really make the case for the approach. And it's like, look, you could go see somebody else. You can get a second opinion. I recommend you do, but this is my take on it. And here's the power too, is if you really lay that all out, somebody may say, no, I think you're ridiculous, and they go away. But then your whole point of view pans out, right? The prognosis pans out. And because they, you know, and then they come back to you and they say, you know what, you were right. Yeah, you were right. I should have taken you seriously. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much.